set. Hello, everybody. For those tuning in online, you are tuning in to the South Florida Tech Podcast, a weekly show where we bring you the awesome, innovative people building our South Florida tech community. Each week, we'll introduce you to one of the Sunshine State's top tech leaders, learn more about who they are, what they do, and have some fun conversation along the way. Our podcast is, of course, presented by the Palm Beach Tech Association, a nonprofit dedicated to building South Florida into a tech hub. And I'm your host, Joe Russo, the president and CEO. And of course, joined by my illustrious co-host, Joanna Mikkola, the CEO and co-founder of Wyncode Miami.
Hi, guys. Great to be here.
So the Joe and Joe Show is here yet again. And shout out to our sponsor for our podcast, Emerge Americas. Each year, global enterprises, disruptive technology, and elite startups are highlighted at Emerge's premier tech event, Connecting the Americas. It's held in Miami Beach and to date has hosted organizations from over 40 countries and featured over 250 speakers from around the world. They are transforming our tech hub here in South Florida by connecting entrepreneurs, investors, business executives, and decision makers. So thank you so much to the team over there for all that they do and for supporting our podcast. So we are joined by Will Reinraub today. He is one of I would say the OGs of the tech community for so many ways here in South Florida. He's the founder currently of the Local Leaders Collective, which is an organization that creates a dynamic community composed of local founders. He's also the host of Lessons via Leaders, a weekly show that highlights insights from some of the top entrepreneurs, founders, and thought leaders in their respective fields. In his current roles, Will is formally the CEO and co-founder of LiveNinja, a database filled with experts in various fields that were accessible to, this is a little off the rails here, but he was CEO, co-founder of LiveNinja. He was acquired by Net2Phone and currently serves as their head of product. In addition to that, he's a graduate of Florida State University, so shout out to the Seminoles here on the call. But most of all, known for the Waffle Wednesdays, I would say that LiveNinja used to host down there in their offices in Miami, and has done so many things in South Florida over the years to connect founders and entrepreneurs and to be a leader in his community. So Will, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Yeah.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you for having me.
So with that, I would love for you to just start off and tell us who you are, what you do, and give us the little elevator speech on who Will is.
Sure. Who am I and what do I do? It's the question I ask myself every morning. Born and raised here in South Florida. I've lived here my entire life. Really passionate about the city, the ecosystem, and everything we got going on here. Got into tech at a young age. Got my 1,000 free hours of America Online by CD-ROM in the mail, and that's kind of my foray into the internet world. And I was hooked. Started a couple small businesses online. Just making websites for people, and learned just how amazing this could be for, growing revenue to, providing services. And, that was around when I was 13 years old, and the bug bit me ever since. So that was my foray into tech. Went off to Florida State University, as you mentioned, came out of college, joined family business in the financial services space and the insurance space, and quickly learned that I absolutely hated it. Not to knock on anybody that's selling insurance out there, but insurance was a business where you basically got to sell people on what's about to happen wrong in their life. So it just wasn't the vibe for me. And when I thought about what I wanted to do, always came back to tech. And for me at that time, unemployment was a big problem. This was around the 2007, 2008 time. This was around the McCain, Barack Obama election. And that was the big socioeconomic topic, was unemployment. So I wanted to take a stab always since that election on how to solve unemployment. And I figured technology would be a great way to do that. So that was the seed of the idea of LiveNinja, was to create a marketplace of people to buy and sell services, whatever anybody's good at. If you went to school and were a doctor, a lawyer, or a therapist, you could sell your services online in the same method we're doing now, via video chat, and charge money for it. And work out of the comfort of your home. Or if you just happen to have a skill, or you're bilingual, could teach someone Spanish, or you're good at math, can help someone with their calculus homework, or whatever it could be. We believe everybody was good at something. give them a platform to sell it and make money and be sustainably self-employed. So that was the origin of LiveNinja. We raised a little bit of funding here in Miami. Long road to that, but then eventually raised a seed round in 2012 and launched the company. We did that for about 4.5 years, and we got that was a roller coaster ride. It's always amazing when I tell this story that I could sum all of that pain into like 1 minute of a summary. But roller coaster ride in late 2016, we ended up getting acquired by IDT/Net2Phone, and that was an interesting thing. I'm still at Net2Phone, director of product for them. And then now also building the Local Leaders Collective, which again, still passionate about the Miami tech scene and the community here, and want to make sure that local entrepreneurs have the resources, have the network to be able to take the next step in their business by connecting them to the right resources. So that's what I'm doing now.
So you've been championing the startup ecosystem in South Florida for, it seems like before anybody really knew it was here. For more or less a decade. LiveNinja was one of those, startups I feel like everybody knew because of Waffle Wednesdays, which was your way of giving people a platform to connect. How did that come about? I mean, obviously LiveNinja is a startup, is a simple enough tech startup, but you featured the community in so much of what you did, in part through Waffle Wednesday. So how did that come about that you started this event and got so connected?
And wait, let's just pause. Will is so crazy. He's like, we're going to invite the entire South Florida tech community to our office for waffles every Wednesday morning.
Oh yeah, and what I was like, oh, we're like literally in the office. It's not an event space. It's like, oh, they're coding right here. Okay.
Yeah, that was amazing. It was a great community event. We joked that we were more well known for waffles than we were for making software, and that's pretty accurate. So the way that came about was pretty organically. Actually, we had just moved out of a small space in Wynwood. It was about maybe 500 square feet, and we were just raised a little bit more funding. One of the mandates of that round was to expand the team. So we looked for a new space, and we found one around the corner from our old office in the heart of Wynwood, on Northwest 25th Street. And just this amazing 2,000 square foot space. We were so stoked about it because it had such a great vibe. So we signed the lease, and then immediately went to Target to get stuff for said office because it was just empty. Needed desks, needed just supplies and all that. So I went with Carolina, who was our director of marketing at the time, Carolina Leon. And we were just, picking up a bunch of stuff. And on the clearance rack at Target was a waffle maker on sale for like $4. And she's like, oh my gosh, it's $4. We have to get it just as a matter of principle. And we're like, okay, so what do we do with this? We're just going to make waffles at the office. And she came up with the idea that said, what we should do as like a team building event, because we were about to hire all these new team members, that we should do once a week in the morning, Waffle Wednesday, where instead of having breakfast at home, the team would say, okay, we're going to have breakfast at the office and we're just going to, link up early. And again, it was just purely about team bonding. And then we did that for a few weeks and it was fun. My co-founder at the time, Alfonso Martinez, super creative dude, loved to be in the kitchen. So he would always come up with these like funky waffles every single week. There'd be like a new theme. So we'd have fun with that. And then it just organically, again, we had like, I think 10 or 12 team members at the time. And then one week somebody said, hey, my cousin's in town. He wants to learn more about the tech scene. Can he come for waffles on Wednesday? Yeah, sure. Bring him over. Or someone would say, hey, I got a buddy that's working out of the lab. Can they come over for waffles? Yeah, sure. Bring them over. And then eventually it got to the point where one day we looked around and there was 20 strangers in our office looking for waffles on a Wednesday morning. So we're like, okay, well, we better figure out what to do here. So went to Matt Hagman at the Knight Foundation, who Miami program director at the time. Everybody knows Matt, great guy, and told him about this concept and how it was happening kind of organically. And I asked him, would Knight Foundation be interested in writing a check to sponsor Waffle Wednesday? And it took Matt maybe 5 seconds to just say, absolutely, count us in. That sounds amazing. And they wrote us a grant. And for the first time, we're like, okay, let's put on a cool event for the Miami tech community. And for me, I was a new dad at the time. I just had, my son was just born and my daughter was born 14 months prior to that.
Oh.
And I could never attend those evening networkers. They were just never happening for me, because by the time I was done with work at like 6:30, they're waiting for me at the house. I got to help with dinner and chores and all that stuff. So I was never able to really do the evening ones. So I was like, let's do an alternative networker first thing in the morning. We had an office manager, Raul, at the time. Shout out to Raul if you're watching this, who made amazing Cuban coffee. And we're like, let's do it. Let's do it. An alternative networker in the morning, Cuban coffee, fun waffles, let people pitch whatever they're working on. And it just grew from there. It was a very successful event. It started off like averaging about, 15 to 20 people. And then I think at its peak, it was between 50 and 70 attendees, particularly at the days that Wyncode would do their pitch practice. When Joe did pitch practice at Waffle Wednesdays, which I think you leveraged for every cohort as just a dry run for them to get their nerves out. I mean, the place was just packed. It was awesome. Such good energy, such good vibes. I miss those days. So yeah, that's how Waffle Wednesday came about.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like, I mean, just hearing you tell the whole story, I just get like such happy feelings. But I gotta say, like, you really have a long track record of being a connector. And that mentality of like, yeah, bring him over. Let's like get together. Like that is you, Will. Like you are that connector and looking to, as you're building yourself, build up others as well. And you gave Wyncode a platform, which we're so grateful for at those meetings, but a ton of other companies and individuals as well. And I think in turn, like, how smart was it for LiveNinja too? Because anyone's entry point into Miami Tech at the time was at the LiveNinja office. So I just think like it's so invaluable. It's sometimes it's hard to measure, but the impact is like 100% there. And I think actually now talking about Local Leaders Collective, again, another initiative to like bring people together. And I feel like behind the scenes, people don't know this, but there's this like elusive Miami founders Facebook chat, which I feel like was almost like predating LLC, which Local Leaders, by the way, is known as LLC. So can you talk a little bit about like, building connections, building community, like how did that come about and what exactly is LLC?
Sure. I mean, to start with building community, I think it's super important. Community is part of like everything we do, whether that's your local community or your company as a community. I mean, we are by nature human beings. We thrive with other people. We thrive in our tribes, and this is a very difficult experience, the entrepreneur experience and the entrepreneur journey. That I mean, I'm preaching to the choir. Your folks are probably that our listeners are mainly entrepreneurs or people that are looking to start startups. It's a very difficult journey and a lonely existence at times, because a lot of the stuff is happening here in your own head, and you don't feel like you could actually share that with people. So to have a strong support system and a strong community, that's everything. And for me, you mentioned it kind of permeates kind of everything I like to do, because I feel like if people have a strong community and a strong support system, they could really maximize their potential. I personally needed it also for myself. I didn't know what I was doing when I was running LiveNinja, and I needed the advice and the support of others to kind of get through those difficult times as a new dad, as a new husband, as somebody growing and scaling a business. It was just key to me. As that segues into Local Leaders Collective, when Waffle Wednesday, we kind of had to phase that out after the acquisition of LiveNinja for various reasons. But always I wanted to do something back in the community. Joe, that I kind of burned myself out on both ends when I was running LiveNinja. And when I sold the company, my wife said, okay, now take a break. You do all of this stuff, this community initiatives and all these extracurricular, take it easy for a little bit, because she saw that I was, again, just like maxing out. So we agreed to that. At the same time, I have such a passion for this community and passion working for entrepreneurs that I wanted to help in some way. And after 2 years of working exclusively at Net2Phone, again, I still work at Net2Phone. That's my core job, during the day. I wanted to also, give back to the entrepreneur scene again in some way. So, Raul, who's now my program director at Knight Foundation, reached out and we were tossing around a few ideas. And we were talking about what could be impactful now for the community. And, we were riffing on a bunch of different angles. And for me, again, I'm always coming back to what I think founders need help with is, and this isn't a blanket statement, but I act as like what I would need help with, again, if I was running a company right now, or what I could have used help with when I was running LiveNinja. And that is, frankly, being more cognizant of mental health and being more focused on stress level, and having places to go during times of great stress and tension. And I have now come to the belief that the single most important determining factor on if a company is going to be successful or not is the mental health of the founding team. Because here in South Florida, we like to say, okay, lack of funding, lack of talent. There's all these problems here in South Florida. To me, those are normal business problems that every company has to deal with at some point. No matter where you're located, you ask the folks in the valley, do you have talent issues? Do you have funding issues? They're going to say the same thing, right? So to me, what supersedes that is mental health. Because if you're in a good place mentally, you could solve any problem. Oh, 40 investors told you no. Well, I'm supposed to hear 49 no's for every yes. Let me keep on going. Can't find talent in Miami? Let me recruit out of state, or let me hire remotely, right? So your mental health can really help you there. But conversely, if you're in a bad place mentally, and I've been there, it takes one email to ruin your day, like completely set you off. VC says, no, this is not a fundable business. Shut off the laptop. I'm done for the day. Like it could really get you. Oh, I can't find a Ruby dev in Miami. Can't build a startup here in Miami. I guess it's just not possible. So the mind can really play tricks on you. So you have to be really kind of kind to yourself. So I was sharing these ideas with Raul, and we were like, there's got to be a way for founders to have a support system where other founders can help them in a more organized way. And we were talking about ways to execute that, and we kept coming back to the forum model. Joe, the forum model. You're a member of EO, right? Amazing organization. YPO is another organization that's also forum based. And for your listeners that don't know what a forum is, these are groups of about 7 to 9 people in your local area. You get paired with, and they essentially become your brothers and sisters in arms, so to speak, during your journey through life, through your personal life and professional life, all sharing similar experiences at similar stages of their life and business. And it's almost like Entrepreneurs Anonymous. Think of it like AA for entrepreneurs. You meet once a month, you get a round table, there's an agenda. You have to be trained on how to do this. It's not just like, hey, let's go have a meeting for a few hours. There's a training involved. And the way these forum meetings are set up, you spend 4 hours with these people once a month, but you extract so much value that you could take with you for the next 30 days that it's worth its time and weight in gold. And what we thought was really interesting, and I've had friends like Joe that are in EO that sing forums praises. I've had investors and other people I know that are in YPO that says, listen, I won't miss my YPO forum or my EO forum for anything. It's that valuable. And I just kept learning about this, and I thought, man, I would have loved to have this at LiveNinja. This would have saved me a ton of time and stress. But there are some issues with these not necessarily issues, but they're parameters with these organizations. You have to be at a certain level, with your business. For example, EO, you have to be at $1 million recurring revenue annually. YPO is much greater than that from its, restrictions and entry levels. So what didn't exist is a democratized version of these communities and these organizations. We could make the argument that, founders that are scaling their businesses have very unique problems and they need help and support, no doubt. But also founders that are just starting out need just as much help and support. They need places to go to. And we felt there was a big gap to not provide this amazing system that's been proven over decades to early stage founders, or forget just early stage agnostic. Early stage, mid stage, later stage. So the LLC, the Local Leaders Collective, was created on that premise to take the forum model, to take this community-based model and democratize it and allow anybody that wants a tribe to help them navigate through their personal and professional life together to have access to that. And that's what we're doing. We're creating this community of local entrepreneurs. Right now it's all South Florida based, but we are expanding to other markets to have this this amazing, system that typically was reserved for people that are much further along or much more expensive. That now people can afford to go to these things. So that's
Yeah,
what it is.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, super cool, really well described. Also love the like take on taking a model and democratizing it. So I think that's awesome. And it's interesting to have a safe space as an entrepreneur to say the things you can't say to anyone else. Sometimes there's a lot, and sometimes there's nothing. It depends on what's going on, but. Yeah, mental health is so interesting. And I do love that you're like, that's the most important factor, because the more you get into this, the more you realize that it is so important. I will say Yuha, who is my co-founder, he was in EO and Inform before I was. So I was aware of what are the number one rules about Fight Club? You don't talk about it. Same thing goes for forum. It's like strict confidentiality. And I was always like, what is this like mysterious forum? But it's actually not that mysterious. So awesome you're doing that. And I know you're going to be so successful, and I'm super excited to hear it's expanding.
Yeah. Thank you. Super passionate about it. And again, I think one of the traps that we fall into as founders, I've personally fell into it, is, we go into these networking events, we see our peers out into the wild, and how are you doing? Oh, crushing it. Yeah, doing awesome. We're scaling. Things are great. We just raised funding. We made this hire. Everybody's talking about the surface level stuff, and it's posturing for a reason. I'm not going to say that it's not needed, because again, you have to talk up your business, you have to talk up yourself. It's important. But if we keep conversations at a high level and don't talk about our problems and don't talk about our challenges, we're just going to have surface level conversations, surface level topics. And I would go to events here in South Florida. I would meet with 50 people at these events, and I'd leave with 0 action items. It's just everybody's crushing it and everybody's doing amazing.
Yeah, well, or thinking that everybody's doing amazing. How are you doing?
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then you feel like you're the only failure at the event because everything's falling to pieces around you, right? And when you get into these meetings, these forums, you quickly realize that everybody is struggling with similar stuff.
Oh yeah.
That look, if you're an entrepreneur, and every entrepreneur that's watching this, I commend you. Okay, I commend you for taking this journey. It is, and my journey was filled with tons of ups and downs and lots of pain, and I look back on it as one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. Again, I commend any entrepreneur for taking that journey and taking that path, because it is a very hard path, but it is very worthwhile. You need people to give you that perspective that, look, it may seem like the world is crumbling around you. This same thing happened to me, and let me share with you, in my experience, what I did that helped me get out of that hole. Like, I dealt with funding challenges at LiveNinja. I was looking at the end of a bank account many, many times, not being able to make payroll. And it's amazing to hear just how many entrepreneurs go through that. When it happens to you, you're like, how did I let this happen? How was I possibly so irresponsible that I let the bank account get this far? And now you go into forums or you meet with entrepreneurs, you're like, yeah, I mean, that's part of being an entrepreneur, is kind of staring down the barrel of the shotgun almost and trying to figure out what to do next. So normalizing the challenges, normalizing the stress and how hard it is, I think is super important, because I personally have seen founders close up shop prematurely because their biggest competitor was themselves in their minds, and the mind told them, there's nothing here. This is not a viable startup. This is not the right market. The product market fit isn't there, and they just close up shop. And I feel like with Forum, this is not to sing the praises of LLC. I sing the praises of Forum as a model. If more people have access to Forum, they can easily call audibles and save their business or scale their business and find avenues that they previously didn't know existed. So I'm really passionate about that and helping founders unlock those doors.
Yeah. So, well, we have a few more minutes here to go over, and honestly, everything that you're saying is just like brilliance, just bottled up here in a podcast, which is great. You talked about mental health, which I think gets discounted way too much in our society and way too much in the tech industry by far. And, I think we all have up and downs in life, and we have our good days and bad days. But, looking to that is saying, hey, here's here's a path forward, and here's this group of people. So it's so important. But something unique though is that it's also invite only LLC, and there's obviously a lot of challenges that members of LLC have, and a lot of journeys. But what makes that philosophy work, and what makes a great candidate for LLC?
Yeah, I should probably update on the website. It's less invite only, but there is an application. So it's not to say like you have to be invited and you have to wait for that. It's not like that. You can go to our website, the localleaders.com. You could fill out the application to join the community right there. With that being said, there is some level of review to make sure that there is a forum that can provide value to you, that there's people waiting that could be matched with you, and vice versa, right? That you would be able to provide value to other people. You can't just say, okay, anybody can join a forum and we'll find ways to match people, because then you match people into these groups of 8 or 9, and then things can kind of go off the rails, or maybe there's not a lot of relatability between some of the members. So what you try to do as thoughtfully as possible is you review a set of criteria. Where are they in life? Are they married? Do they have kids? Where are they in their business? Are they just starting out? Are they scaling? Are they raising capital? And what you do is you kind of put these people into digital waiting rooms, so to speak, until there is a number, we say it's about 6, it's a minimum of what we want to launch a forum with, of relatable peers that we could put into that group to make it as healthy of a forum as possible. So it's less about being invite only and more about just being thoughtful with the people that we group together into these forums. If anybody's listening that's an entrepreneur starting a business or scaling, go to localleaders.com, check out the website. If it sounds like something that's interesting, please fill out the application and we'll be in touch and happy to get you more info and see if there's a forum fit for you.
Yeah, and also just want to give a shout out to all my female entrepreneurs out there. I know LLC has their eye on building for diversity and people of diverse backgrounds, race and gender. So make sure that you apply.
100%.
We only have a few more minutes here on the podcast because we've been just hitting knowledge left and right. But Joe, if you want to take it from here, and we can do our rapid fire, and then we'll leave off with one last question for Will as well.
Great. So we love to end these with a little rapid fire. So just to reveal all of your true secrets, Will, we want to know first and foremost, what is currently on your nightstand? What are you reading?
The book that I'm reading at the moment is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. Great book, a lot of practical advice. So just, again, your habits and what you do every single day just kind of forms your life and the things you do. And this book just kind of breaks it down in very straightforward, easy to understand language, and just shows you how you could just apply these kind of methodologies to have better habits throughout your day. So I'm loving the book.
Love it. I'm all about the good habits. What's the most productive time of day?
7 a.m. to 9 a.m. by far. I'm a morning person. So, I get up, strong cup of coffee, walk the dog, do a few quick things, get organized. And then 7 to 9 is like the money window. Cause that's right when the caffeine hits and before everybody clocks into work at 9 a.m. So that's the window.
That's awesome. What time do you go to bed usually?
I need to get better at going to bed around the 10 o'clock hour, but I would say right now it's kind of in between 10 and 11:30. Pandemic hours have screwed everything up, and now it's more so in the 11 o'clock hour. I need to fix it.
What about time you wake up?
Set my alarm nowadays for 5:45 every morning, and that's the goal. I hit it 80% of the time, depending again on the previous question when I went to sleep. As you know, back in LiveNinja days, I was a 4:30 every single morning to get up before the kids. Thankfully, I don't have to do that anymore, but still try to get up around 5:45, 6 a.m.
I'll never forget Will telling me he wakes up at 4:30, me and all of the students, because we were asking him all these questions. He was a guest speaker, had been many times, and will continue to be. And we were like, wow, 4:30, bow down.
Yeah. It was brutal.
What about your favorite podcast? Aside from, of course, Lessons via Leaders and this one. Another go-to podcast for you?
A lot of good podcasts these days. I would say my favorite one is, as far as like the number of knowledge takeaways you get per minute, is Naval's podcast. I don't even know if it has a name. I think it's just called Naval or something. But Naval Ravikant, he's kind of like a modern day philosopher, and especially his stuff applies to modern day entrepreneurs. As every minute is just like dense with information. So I check out Naval's podcast.
Yeah, I second that too. He's great. What about a motto you live by? Is there a motto, mantra, saying, vision that you live by? And what is it?
Do more, I would say. I think that's the biggest thing, and I'm going to make sure to send this to my wife, and she'll be like, "Do more."
Your wife was.
How about you start with the dishes? But yeah, I think do more, I think, is key, because I always feel like I'm leaving a few things on the table, whether that's at work or at home. I could always be better at time management. I could always be better at just the way I think and process things. So like kind of do more, do better is something I'm always striving for.
Awesome. You're doing pretty good. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Thank you.
I love that 80% of the time you wake up. It's like 80% of the time I'm up on time every time.
Yeah.
I got to give you credit though. That's a good schedule to get on. Obviously you get a lot of things done in the morning, but it does take some personal commitment to be able to stay with that. So that explains why you've been able to do Waffle Wednesdays. I mean, you're already up. I mean, what else you got to do? Make waffles. So last question, Will, and that is, what advice would you have to aspiring tech leaders here in South Florida?
I would say, I tell this to a lot of entrepreneurs, but get in touch, really get in touch with your why you're doing what you're doing. A lot of entrepreneurs fall into, just building something cool or looking for an idea or trying to get out of their 9-to-5. Really find like what makes you happy and what you're passionate about, and find the why you're building something, because like we talked about earlier in the podcast, this is such a hard journey, and there's going to be so many bumps in the road and so many, walls in front of you, that whenever you're faced with those hurdles, the why is what gets you through everything. Because if you don't have a really strong passion or a why you're doing something, you'll just move on to the next thing. But if you have a why and it's really something that resonates with you, I mean, you'll plow through those brick walls. So get in touch with your why. If you look introspectively and you can't find that, I would encourage you to think more deeply into finding something that really does resonate with you, because then you could really align yourself with what change you want to see in the world, what change you want to see in yourself or your community, and nothing will stop you, no matter what the challenge is.
Awesome.
Hey,
well, thank you so much, Will, for joining us on the podcast today. A quick CTA for anybody who is interested in seeing what we do more as an organization, go to palmbeachtech.org and get involved. Obviously we want to give a shout out to Will. What's the website for LLC again?
thelocalleaders.com.
localleaders.com. Also big thanks to Joe and Wyncode, another one of our partners. If you want to learn to code in South Florida, take a look at Wyncode. It's online at wyncode.co. They have some really great programs and some really great instructors over there. And, anything more that, we could ever do for the community, please do go to our website. Please do reach out. We're here for you guys. So thank you to Joe. Thank you for Will. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.